I want to welcome you to the Frankfurt Area Chamber of Commerce candidate forums for the November 3rd general election for state Senate race in the 7th District. We have these forums. We've been having them for over 25 years, almost 3 decades at this point, as a way to create public awareness and encourage people to vote. So we are so appreciative that the candidates are willing to spend their time with us. And we spend a lot of time preparing and trying to make sure that the forums are fair and you have equal time. You have the ability to get your time out. So we're going to do the best we can again tonight. We appreciate all of you coming. We have 3 candidates for Senate District 7. We have Ken Carroll, if you want to wave or something, Joe Gravis, and make sure I say this right. Is it Adrienne Southworth?
Gravis with a long A, Dave.
Gravis? I don't know why I keep calling you that different. I apologize. So have I got him right now? Did I miss it? Did I mess you up, Miss Southworth?
It's Adrienne, like Rocky.
Adrienne, like Rocky. Okay. Adrienne. Okay. Hey, listen, I appreciate all of you being here. We really do appreciate it. We have a terrific panel that's done a lot of work in preparing for your time. Here tonight with us, we have Steve Stewart from Frankfurt State Journal. We have Kathy Lindsay from the Frankfurt Plant Board, and we have Kristen Cantrell from Cap City Communications. Susie Hosley, the incoming interim president of the chamber, will be our timekeeper tonight. As David said, she'll show a sign for 20 seconds. She'll show a sign for stop. You need to be finishing up at that time. After you go over a second or two on the stop, I'm going to start saying nice ways to get you to stop, like thank you, that's enough, everything but stop. But so if you would cooperate, that would be great. If not, David will have to mute you to keep us on time and to make sure the timing is not abused in any way. The chamber is happy to present this forum. I'm Dave Weller, your moderator. And we do it with a number of partners that make this possible. Our partners, again, this year are the Frankfurt State Journal, Frankfurt Plant Board, the Cap City Communications Group. We appreciate all of them. We also have Together Frankfurt working with us this year. We are going to do an opening statement. We'll do that in alphabetical order. Then we'll do a series of questions. The 3 panelists will ask you questions, and we'll go back and forth, alternate different ways that make sure that nobody leads all the time and nobody finishes all the time. And then if we do this right, there'll be a closing statement of 1 minute each, and then we'll wish you the best. So I want to again thank you for being here. You have 45 seconds for each response to questions. If there's a follow-up question, and that's highly likely at some point in time to either gain more clarification on your answers or to follow up, you'll have 30 seconds for the follow-up answer. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we're getting ready to start. Hearing none, let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start with opening statements. Alphabetically on my list, Ken Carroll will do the initial opening statements. Ken, you have 1 minute for an opening statement.
Thank you, Dave. And I wanted to thank the Frankfurt Chamber for sponsoring tonight's forum. I'd also like to thank my opponents for participating in the forum and wish them well. So why am I running? These are very troubling and trying times we live in. My life experiences as a father, grandfather, Franklin County resident, and state government retiree give me the maturity and insight to effectively serve. My professional experiences in the Commonwealth's legislative and executive branches, UK College of Engineering, Kentucky Association of Manufacturers, and currently a president and CEO of Advanced Manufacturing Professionals, gives me the solid foundation to serve. With my background in talent and economic development, I will collaborate with both sides of the legislative aisle and the governor to help develop a comprehensive strategic plan for economic development to bring prosperity to all Kentuckians. Thank you.
Thank you. State Representative Joe Gravis, you have the floor. You have 1 minute for an opening statement, sir.
Thanks, Dave. I'd like to thank the Chamber, the Plant Board, the State Journal, and Cap City Communications for participating and making this possible. what a legacy, 20 something years of doing this, and you're still in business. That's awesome. Thank you all for all of that. Most people know me. They can, if they don't, they can look me up at Joe Gravis for Kentucky, Forky, Joe Gravis for Kentucky. Long list of career and business and community and philanthropic accomplishments and awards are all listed there. But I'm basically running to continue doing what I've been doing in the legislature of bringing people together and solving problems and collaborating and working together to make Kentucky a better place and passing bipartisan legislation. That's my track record of working hard and being very responsive to constituent services. And I'm out of time, so you can look up more on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Southworth, you have 1 minute for an opening statement, please.
Hello, Frankfurt. I'm Adrienne Southworth. You know, we are way past due for accountability in government. I can't seem to talk to any state employees just about who don't have some insight on issues that's just not right inside. And our constituents are saying the same thing, except they may not be able to put their finger exactly on what's going on, what the trouble really is. But everybody just knows things aren't quite right. And so I decided to run for state Senate because the time that I've spent in the past in the Senate, actually on a volunteer basis, reviewing every piece of legislation for, well, I guess over a decade now, plus working behind those closed doors at highest and some low level state agencies, you know, I see how things do and don't work from the back end, and I really want to bring that to the front end so that legislators are making decisions that are going to help us, that don't necessarily pay close attention on the back end. I think we could avoid a lot of problems that way. So look forward to serving you in the future as your senator.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you. Okay, we're going to begin with our questions and answers. Again, you have 45 seconds to respond, 30 seconds on a follow-up. We'll go back up to the top of our panel. Steve Stewart, are you ready to ask a question?
Sam, good evening all. Good to see you all again.
Good to see you.
Governor Andy Beshear this week said he's reviving Connect, the health insurance exchange begun by his father, by his successor, Governor Matt Bevin, who opted to put Kentucky in the federal insurance exchange under the Affordable Care Act. Your reaction to the governor's decision? Mr. Carroll, let's start with you.
Thank you, Steve. And I would say this, whatever the operation is in state government, in this case, Kentucky Connect, we have to make sure that it's done in the most effective and efficient possible manner. And that means not only looking at the operational side of it, but the financial side. Bottom line is we need to ensure that Kentuckians get quality healthcare services and that it's done in the most efficient and effective way to make sure that the taxpayers' dollars are spent in the most effective way. So I want to look at all operations of government and make sure that we are doing everything that we can in the most effective way, as well as making sure that our Kentuckians get the health care services they need. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up. So no opinion on whether Connect, the state exchange, is the most effective way?
Well, as I said, you know, just out of hand, I don't know that it is the most effective way today. It sounds like it could be the most effective way, but as I said in the previous forum, I will say again tonight, I want to bring continuous improvement techniques to state government, and I can't tell you right now exactly if it is the most effective way. I will say this, I want to do everything possible to make sure that we serve as many Kentuckians, hopefully all Kentuckians, with quality health care, but we'd have to have a lot of work and study to do before we make sure that is the most appropriate way to do it.
Thank you, Ken.
For now, it seems to be the most appropriate way.
Thank you. Representative Gravis, your reaction to the governor's decision to revive Connect.
Thank you for unmuting me there. Susie, if you could start the clock over because I was muted. But thank you, Steve. To directly answer your question, yes, we should definitely do this. It is a significant benefit to Kentuckians. When Governor Steve Beshear had Connect in place, the health of Kentuckians went way up and their costs went way down. We've got a $5 million one-time upfront cost to get it rebooted. And then there's about $4 million annually to continue to keep it going. But 70 to 85% of that $4 million a year for operation and marketing costs is reimbursed by the feds. We can't afford to not do this for the health of Kentuckians. Plus, it will save us approximately $10 to $15 million a year by leaving the federal exchange. This is a great thing for Kentuckians, and it's very cost efficient, and I'm glad the governor's doing it. Thank you.
Ms. Southworth, Connect, good thing, bad thing?
This is a classic example of exactly why I'm running for office, because reading the tea leaves from what the executive agencies tell us in the hearings just a month or two ago, we heard that we were going to save money by moving to the state exchange because we would be able to recover funds that were otherwise walking out the door on the federal exchange. Then the story changed within a few minutes to, well, it's going to cost us $9 million. Well, then actually we don't know how much it's going to cost us. And if you get right down to it, it might not necessarily actually be a savings. And all that transpired inside one meeting without any additional study, just in the process of asking a few questions. So what I'm bringing to the table is, if it's not actually effective, then we need to address that down. We can't sit around and wait for studies. We have to do the work ourselves because we are the decision makers. And right now I would say no.
Thank you.
Quick,
We good?
Follow up. It sounds like you're directly questioning the figures that Representative Gravis gave relative to savings. Just to clarify that. Are you disputing his numbers?
I think he may have been at that meeting. I can't recall right offhand, but he's probably been privy to the same general briefings. And having worked in the executive branch at those type levels before, I can tell you the talking points and the actual figures are usually not always the same thing. So that's what I would be watching out for the people's interest.
We good? Thank you. Kathy Lindsay, you have the next question.
I do. Okay. After the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, among others, our country has seen a rising movement in the calls for social justice. Two terms are frequently hashtagged, Black Lives Matter and defund the police. These terms can be interpreted in different ways. How do you interpret them, and are they ideas that you support?
Who do you want to ask first, Kathy?
I'll ask Representative Gravis.
Thank you, Kathy. I do support that. My opponent has slandered me by saying that it looks like I want to defund the police, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. I actually won an outstanding legislator award from the Chiefs of Police Association this year. And Black Lives Matter, I've attended protests and marches. The racial injustice, inequality that has gone on for generations and centuries has got to be addressed. These few bad apples that are spoiling the big bunch have got to be weeded out. I will support Senator Stiver's no-knock bill when it comes out. That's just the beginning. I could go on for another 45 minutes on this, much less 45 seconds, but I'm very supportive of the Black Lives Matter and our police. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Who do you want to go to next, Kathy?
Ms. Southworth?
Sure. What it means to me is not probably what it means to the general part of the movement. I take it in little noun words or adjectives, whatever. Black Lives Matter. Black people are lives and everybody matters. However, I think that the movement has been co-opted and it's almost, well, it is a trademark at this point, I'd say. And so the socialist revolution is not something I support, can't even touch it. As for the defunding of the police, its literal interpretation is not funding the police, which is a terrible idea. We've seen what's happened in some other cities where some of this is starting to go on. And I think that they've changed definitions so many times, they don't even know what they're saying at this point, because it is crazy. I have a sister that lives out on the West Coast, and everybody knows it's crazy. So absolutely would not support defunding the police.
Ken, I believe it's your turn. You have to unmute yourself, Ken. Ken, unmute yourself. Okay.
Please, I got you. Okay, I guess somebody muted me. I apologize. As I said in the first public forum, all Black Lives Matter. And with that said, we must do everything to make sure that all individuals in all aspects of society have the opportunity for prosperity to support them and their families. But with that said, I do not support the organization Black Lives Matter because of the rioting and its relationship with Antifa and other organizations. I think in many cases, and I'm not talking necessarily about in Kentucky, I haven't seen much evidence of that here, thank goodness. But throughout the country, we've seen a lot of that, and it simply cannot be. We need law and order throughout the country. And we also need, as I said, opportunities
Ken, thank you
for
very
all.
much. Ken, thank you.
Dave, can I sneak in a quick follow-up on that?
Sure, go ahead, Steve.
Representative Gravis, you said that my opponent, singular, had slandered me. In fairness here, we've got two opponents here on the night. Which one?
Ms. Southworth was accepting money from her leadership.
On the question of defunding police, that was the allegation?
Yes, sir. There were some negative ads that were extremely misleading and confusing to people. I was getting phone calls wondering why I would want to defund the police because they saw an ad pop up somewhere that made me look like some underworld criminal. And I had to address the issue that no, that's the furthest thing from it. In fact, I've been awarded by the police for outstanding service. And they know that I support them, and it's malicious. And that's what we need to get away from in politics today. It's a lot of reason why I'm running is to get away from this manipulative spin and slander and try to bring some honor and some integrity back to the office so that when kids look at politicians, they can look at people to be aspired to versus run away from.
Okay, thanks,
Ms.
Joe.
Southworth, do you want to defend the ad or?
I can honestly say I don't know what he's even talking about. What he might want to address, though, is the ad that he actually did engage in slander. We actually have active slander going on right now. And what I can't figure out is why someone would want to bring that up without talking about what they're currently involved in, specifically what's flying around today. And, you know, it's kind of strange. The reason why I'm running for office, every time I stand up for accountability, I don't really care what comes at me. And that's what I'll keep doing. I wear it as a badge of honor to make people accountable.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay. Okay. Any more follow-up questions, Steve? Where you at?
Talking about a TV ad? Are you referring to a TV ad, Adrian?
I don't know where all you've put it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There was a mailer today that I know of.
Okay, I've not seen that mailer.
May I speak?
I think it's only fair that we give Mr. Carroll 30 seconds, given that.
Yeah, 30 seconds, Ken.
Well, all I wanted to say was that I'm not going to slander anybody, put anybody down. If I'm elected, it'll be because I've convinced others that I'm the best candidate for the office, and I'm not going to try to do anything to tear anybody down. But thank you very much.
20. Okay, thanks, Ken. Steve, where are we at? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Is it?
I'm going to skip down to Kristen Cantrell. Kristen, it's your turn. You choose who to address it to, and it's your turn. If you want to stay on part of the make sure everybody's been able to start a question, Adrian Southworth would probably be the initial person you direct it to.
Okay, then we'll start with Ms. Southworth. So recently, a business was recruited to Frankfort, who ultimately paid $27,500 for a scalped liquor license that is normally administered by the state of Kentucky and costs $1,000. So why is this? Because Frankfort and Franklin County are maxed out on retail packaged liquor licenses, And the ones that are being resold are being sold or offered at 30 to 75 times more than the state charges. This is clearly an economic development issue in Frankfort now, and it will ultimately be an issue in other counties in Kentucky. So what would you propose to remedy this issue and help us out here in Frankfort?
That's an awesome question. I've got a personal friend in the same exact situation in another location. I am a really big proponent of the free market system as a rule. One of the things that we have to address, however, in public safety issues, in alcohol beverage control is one of those type of things where there has been some regulation to some degree that does make some sense. You know, picking winners and losers, there's usually some kind of corruption involved, and that's something I have zero tolerance for. So I would be looking at how to restructure the availability of these licenses and the resellingness of them. Are they valid if they're resold? You know, those type of issues, and make policy changes that kind of stamp that out.
Thank you. Okay. How about we go to Ken next? Ken Carroll?
Thank you, Dave. Well, it would seem to me that if scalping a license now is not currently illegal in Kentucky, that it needs to be illegal and be enforced throughout the state and not be acceptable in one county and not acceptable in another. So there must be a statewide statute with enough teeth and enforcement to keep the scalping of licensing hopefully at zero. But it certainly is an issue if it's allowed to be in one county and not another.
But if we're maxed out and that's the only way we can get it to bring a business here, then that caps us in our growth, and we're right down the street from 300,000 visitors a year coming to visit Bourbon Country.
Well, I understand that, but again, you know, with some thought about a comprehensive strategic plan for economic development, which is one of the things I want to help bring, that certainly would be a consideration in terms of helping Frankfort, Franklin, and others that are in a similar circumstance.
Okay, thank you. Representative Gravis?
Thank you, Kristen. You hit the nail on the head. It is an economic killer, not an economic driver. And I have worked across the aisle with Representative Koenig and Senator Schickel in the Senate to address this issue of not enough licenses and the fact that they are being scalped and people are holding them and not even using them across the state for just this reason. They're getting them as an investment, not as a service to the community and our economic engines, which are our downtowns. And so I agree that we need to get into the regs and change this. And I have worked across the aisle with my Republican colleagues, and that's where it's going to start, is the majority leadership allowing these things to be heard in committee, pass out of committee so we can get them done on the floor. And I'm with you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Any follow-up questions, Kristen?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're back up the top. Steve, your turn.
To spend a few minutes talking about the political climate in our country and state. You might have read the news today about the plot by activists to kidnap the Michigan governor here in our own state. There was a protest on the Capitol lawn that ended with our governor being hung in effigy. On the other side of the spectrum in Louisville, police officers were shot recently by activists after the Breonna Taylor grand jury announcement. What can you all do as elected leaders to do something to be helpful here? I find this very disturbing, the current climate. So surely it starts with leaders. So let's start with Ms. Southworth.
You know, what I've found working in the political sphere for quite some time is there's very little responsibility and a whole lot of, you know, sitting back, hoping that it all works out for the people that are in power. And what I mean by that is when it comes time to roll up your sleeves they say, oh, wait, can somebody else do this? Because I don't want to have to do it. Either they don't know how, which is pretty common, or they don't want to have to deal with the potential fallout because there's some kind of ladder they're trying to climb right now and it's going to affect the next rung or something like that. And that's something, if we actually get back to regular people representing the regular people, it's not nearly an issue like that. There's not a power structure to just people going to serve people. Something that's pretty rare. That's why I'm running.
Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Steve. There is way too much divisiveness and bitterness in society today. People getting shot, people through, as you said, attempted kidnappings, people hung in effigy, whatever the case may be. This is not to be tolerated. I think we need to have more servant leaders on both sides of the aisle and even in the middle of the aisle. All of our leaders at all levels of government need to understand what servant leadership is, which is serving our people in the best possible manner, trying to lead through an effort to make sure that they understand what is acceptable behavior and lead and live by that as servant leaders.
Thank you.
Representative Gravis, your responsibility as an elected leader in improving the tone and climate in our country and state.
Thank you, Steve. It's up to us as leaders, that's the key word, to walk the talk and be responsible and denounce these fringe groups and these fringe activities and these fringe notions that are so destructive and divisive. And we need to set the example by embracing our colleagues and not destroying them and taking them down and slandering them and misleading folks. I've demonstrated an ability to work across the aisle, and I've earned the respect of my colleagues from across the aisle. And I have filed legislation for transparency in campaign finance and reform, because there's just too much bad money buying bad government.
Thank you, Representative Gravis. We okay, Steve? Ready to move on?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you all.
I know I've got one question. I might have time for two. Kathy, do you have a question?
Yes. What are your views on Kentucky's voter ID law, and what changes, if any, do you think need to be made? We can start with Ms. Southworth.
The first thing I would change that I really wanted them to change last year and they didn't was get rid of credit cards. Credit cards are not an ID. They have a name. We don't know if your name's John Smith, how many places could you go to vote? That's not an ID. Doesn't show anything to anybody. That's the number one thing. I think we could close a lot of loopholes right there. Obviously, there are other little tweaks, but that was the main issue I had this year. I think we get rid of that, we're a lot further ahead.
Who you want to go to next, Kathy?
Thank you, Dave. In my opinion, all voters need a picture ID to be able to vote. We have to have a picture ID to get into, military bases, to get on an airplane, to go a lot of different places. And so why shouldn't we be able to be requiring picture IDs for individuals to be able to vote? Now, with that said, not all voters are drivers. And so there must be other better solutions to be able to prove that they are who they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Secretary Adams and Governor Beshear have actually set a wonderful example and model of bipartisan collaboration to work together to have done what we've done in the primary and here in the fall. And directly to your question, Kathy, Secretary Adams sat in my state government committee and testified that he did not know of any photo ID issues in his research. None, zero. And so why are we chasing this? But I commend them for coming up with the least obtrusive voter ID law in Senate Bill 2 last year that they worked with Professor Douglas and Governor Beshear on to get it. And they accepted a lot of Democratic amendments. And Secretary Adams said, I was the only Democrat that approached him and went to his office and discussed the bill and amendments with him. And he appreciated that. And he and I have a good relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's try to squeeze one more question. It's going to be tight. I may go over a minute, David. I apologize in advance. Kristen Cantrell, what's your question? Who do you want to ask it of first?
I'll start with Mr. Carroll. And my question is, what do you think is the best indication of economic health in the Commonwealth? And how would you focus your efforts on improving that key indicator?
Well, I think the best indication is to have most of our individuals in career opportunities in growth industries, such as manufacturing, healthcare, agriculture, and energy, to say a few, and for them to have, in many cases, technical types of occupations that provide very, very good living wage with benefits. And in order to get there, we must have a comprehensive strategic plan for economic development. And I would look forward to working with the legislature and the governor to develop the same.
Thank you. Representative Gravis.
Thank you, Kristen. In my 30+ years of business and dealing with hundreds of thousands of customers and thousands of employees, the best indicator of economic growth in our businesses is customers. We have got to have customers and more customers. Without the customers, nothing happens. And that is these sales and revenue is the biggest indicator of how your business is doing. Do you have a lot of customers, and how can we get more? And the best way to get more customers is have the greatest communities that we can have, that families that want to be there because it's a safe place. Their kids can get educated. They've got good hospitals and good schools, and it's safe, and they like their communities, and there's amenities, and there's trails, and there's fun things for them to do. That brings in the families, that brings in the customers and the employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Southworth?
From what I've been able to find, home ownership is a key indicator of economic health in an area. When you have people that are uncertain about their future, they can't turn around and buy a new home. They might decide to rent instead. When things go belly up, all of the homes go up for sale. And, we are seeing a lot of that right now. I think a lot of people are switching, buying from one house to another, but I know people that can hardly find a place to rent and definitely can't buy, and they would love to get there. So I think what we need to focus on is getting people to where they are more secure financially themselves as individuals. And if they can afford things like getting a discretionary health care type thing, or a food that's not the cheapest, then that's another indicator we can use as well.
Thank you. We need to move directly to closing statements. We're going to start and do it in the reverse order. We did the opening statements, which means Adrian Southworth, you have the first closing statement. You have 1 minute.
Thanks so much for all of the time that you guys have put into making sure our voices are heard. I appreciate the chance to address the community. And as you all know, what I bring to the table is very real world perspective. I try to not sugarcoat stuff too much. Just tell it like it is. And, particularly in this community, a lot of people know, whether you're a state employee currently, whether you've worked there in the past, or a retiree, there's a lot of things that nobody's talking about, and I'm willing to take those on. I've taken on impossible issues before. That's my specialty and what I enjoy doing. That's why I'm running. That's what I want to do to serve this community. We're going to tackle difficult issues like the pension, the funding for the pensions. We shouldn't have to be sending all our education funds to offices. They should be going to classrooms. Issues like that we care about, and then watching out for all of our inherent rights that seem to be not as noticed when budgets get tight. I look forward to serving you. Let me know if I can do anything.
Representative Joe Gravis, you have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for your time and attention tonight, and for the hosts doing this. everybody, I'm a known entity. I've got a track record and a reputation as one of the hardest working legislators in Frankfurt. Rocky Atkins has said it. Crick Llewellyn has said it. There are people that walk out of their offices in the annex and grab me by the arm and thank me for all that I'm doing to protect their pensions, their jobs, looking out for their interests. They're so grateful for my efforts. I hear a lot. You're the only one that's done this, or you're the first one that's done that. And I want to continue that level of service, public service in the state Senate. And because you know me, you know that I'm not saying one thing in these forums and in these questionnaires, and then once elected become something different and change. I am who you see, and I mean what I say, and I say what I mean, and people know that I'm a man of my word and work hard. Thank you for your vote, November 3rd. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ken Carroll, 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Thanks again to the chamber and Dave, to you for moderating tonight, and everybody else that's supported this event. I'd also like to thank my opponents for participating and wish them well going forward. Again, given these troubling times, I humbly ask that you give me the honor and privilege to bring my personal and professional experiences to the Kentucky Senate. With my extensive combined public and private sector experiences and through collaboration with you, we can develop and implement a comprehensive strategic plan for economic development to bring prosperities to all Kentuckians. I ask for your vote for November 3rd. Thank you again. Please go vote. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the Frankfurt Area Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank everyone for participating. Our 3 candidates for Senate District 7, Ken Carroll, Representative Joe Gravis, Adrian Southworth. Thanks to all of you for participating. Best of luck to you in the upcoming election. I encourage the voters to vote on or before November 3rd. We have some early voting options that Secretary of State Michael Adams and Governor Beshear have opened up this year, so we need to take advantage of that. Make sure everybody gets to the poll. I want to thank my outstanding panel and the work they put in to prepare for this. Steve Stewart from the State Journal, Kathy Lindsay from the Frankfurt Plant Board, and Kristen Cantrell from Cap City Communications. Their companies, along with the Chamber, they're our co-sponsors, State Journal, Frankfurt Plant Board, Cap City Communications, and Together Frankfurt. I want to thank all of them. Again, I'm Dave Weller, your moderator tonight. I want to wish all of you the best of luck. Thanks for watching. Good night.